So I got into a discussion with somebody on here, and they were talking about the judicial hearings within Jehovah's Witnesses. So I decided to make a video talking about that specific issue, whether the judicial hearings as they are performed within the Jehovah's Witness religion are in fact the way that the Bible says that they should be performed. Now, I'm only going to discuss the judicial process itself. I'm not going to get into shunning or anything like that, just the way that the judicial hearings are held. So to start with, we can start with how judicial hearings were held back in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, where it was supposed to be, the judicial hearings were supposed to be held at the gates of the city, and that the purpose of that, which is even acknowledged by the Watchtower organization itself, was to prevent corruption. When these hearings were held at the gates of the cities, it was held before everyone, so everyone could see the evidence and everyone would know that things were being done justly and that there was no corruption seeping in. Now, this matches what Jesus said as far as how issues were supposed to be handled within the congregation, where one or two individuals, or usually it would start out with one individual, would go and talk to the person in private, then he would bring one or two more in order to establish that this person had been spoken to. And then if this person refused to go along with the way the congregation was doing things, then the issue was to be brought to the congregation as a whole, and they would all judge and determine whether or not this person was to be held accountable for what they were doing. Now we see with Paul, and basically nowhere else within the Scriptures is it actually laid out as plainly as the way that Jesus laid it out as far as how these judicial hearings were supposed to be held. And according to Paul, it indicates that these hearings were only for people who were considered brothers or members of the congregation. So someone who disassociated, of course, would no longer be considered a brother and would no longer be subject to this. Now, ironically, this is actually how judicial cases were held by the organization when it was in its infancy. They, instead of having a secret group of elders judge people, it was brought before the entire congregation. But I believe legal issues came into play and people sued the organization for slander and things like that. So rather than keeping with the biblical principles, the organization implemented their own judicial process. And as time went on, the organization got more and more authoritarian, and their punishments as far as shunning and things like that for disagreeing with doctrine became more severe until we have the organization that exists today.